Rogue One's getting amazing reviews. People are really happy with it. I haven't read the reviews yet, but I just kind of hovered over the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I was like, okay, good. We're heading into good territory here. But the reception on the prequels, the other stories that took place before the main stories in Star Wars, has kind of been all over the place. But that's not to say that there's not good in them, right? And I think a lot of people just look at the prequels and they go, they suck, and they move on. But there are actually a lot of things in the Star Wars prequels that we really love. So we thought we would go through 25 of our favorite things in the Star Wars prequels to keep things positive and optimistic because there's good in everything.
Yeah.
Max, you want to get us started here?
Yeah, let's get this out of the way. Darth Maul kicks ass.
Yeah.
Darth Maul is awesome. He's great. I don't care that he's in the same movie as Jar Jar Binks. He's awesome. Okay? And it sucks that we didn't get more of him, but I guess we kind of did. He came back with some spider legs, so there you go. Side note, so is pod racing.
Now this is pod racing.
This is pod racing. The fun fact about pod racing
so long to do that this show.
It's so wizard. It's so wizard.
Yeah, like there's something incredibly daring about this, right? George Lucas was like, I'm going to put a 14.5-minute long racing scene in the middle of my Star Wars prequel.
Yeah.
Like it made no sense at all. There's nothing like that in any of their Star Wars movies, unless you count like the speeder bike sequence in Jedi. But even that's like not a race. It's a bunch of people getting killed.
And I love the spin-off games too.
Yeah,
they were
totally.
so fun.
Yes,
like that's
they're
the best
awesome.
thing.
So pod racing's great. Hayden Christensen is awful, but Ewan McGregor throughout the entire prequel trilogy is great. Ewan McGregor is awesome. He's a fantastic Obi-Wan, and I would be so happy to see him make a return to that role.
I think that they're trying to come up with excuses to get him back in other ways. And
he
recorded those lines in Force Awakens, too.
Absolutely. You think about the entire chunk of time between the prequels and A New Hope where Obi-Wan was basically just hanging out in Tatooine, going to the bar and like killing people, I guess.
Fighting Tusken Raiders for the hell of it.
Yeah, just being like a crazy old Gran Torino type of dude.
These are kind of some obvious things. These are, everyone loves pod racing and Darth Maul and Obi-Wan. But I think it's time we give a shout out to Obi-Wan's lizard friend, the Boga.
Yeah, this guy's really cool.
This is the most fun part of Revenge of the Sith.
He's got moves.
Yeah,
I think this guy adds some much needed slapstick to this movie. He's sort of like a Last Guardian and like sort of creature-esque. Yeah. He's like a bird lizard.
He's great.
And he makes weird noises and he runs up that building and then falls.
And like upside down.
Yeah, it's great. Like you kind of need that, to realize like how crazy everything's going at the end of the third prequel, where you're like, everyone's dying, the Jedis are getting killed, and then Obi-Wan just runs out and he's got this like pajamas on and he's just like running on this big thing.
I would play this spin-off game.
Me too.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
In VR.
Lizard Bird Wall Runner.
Now, I feel like I gotta bring it up. Watto is great.
Oh, that's the happiest I've ever seen him.
Oh,
he's so happy that he's getting so much time in the spotlight.
That boy I own is racing his engine car. The puppet is trying to kill him with saw blades.
Yes, you can have your mother back.
Yes.
He's hanging out with Willow. This is a good moment.
I will sell this woman to a one-legged man who lives in the desert. Yes. Watto's great because you can do impressions of him, and it's really fun.
That's the best thing.
And not racist because you're doing Watto, not somebody else.
Yeah. Also, what's up with that weird little vest?
I don't know. He's super weird in the second one too.
He just made so much money over the course of everything that he just has a better attire by this point. Yeah.
He's like 80 in Attack of the Clones, and he's got like this tin can hat. And he's like,
I miss his jaunty little hat.
I sell the woman, I buy no hat. No hat for Watto. That's Warwick Davis.
I can't believe you didn't end on Watto after all this build-up.
No, we got plenty more.
We got lots more. Let's get through these. Coruscant. Coruscant is awesome. It's Blade Runner City. It's a city planet. We finally get to see it properly. We got to see it for a second in Return of the Jedi Special Edition. But like this was, pretty much the main setting of the prequels was like this cool-ass world. And like it's just... exciting.
And I know you guys are talking about toys later in this, not as exciting toys. My favorite toy, because I didn't really collect all the Star Wars toys, but I did get this sweet Pizza Hut little toy that was a wind-up Coruscant that you wound it up, you press it, opens, and then Padme's in it, she's like bouncing in front of the Senate.
It's just like the senators in there. And
I loved it though. I used it all the time until it stopped working. It was great.
Well, maybe we have one lying around. We actually, I think we do somewhere, so we'll see if we can find
with me.
General Grievous. Everyone has, the people have their, complaints and grievances. Some people didn't like him because he starts at the movie and he's just coughing, I
kind of love that. He's a robot that has like a lung
three
problem.
organs.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know if he's like if Darth Vader is like 80% robot and 20% man, maybe Grievous is like 3% man. Like, is there a lung in there that's just old and used?
I gotta say, kudos to him for having great force powers because he's not well protected there, and yet it takes a while before he fights and stuff happens. I don't know. Are we still doing prequel spoilers?
Yeah, totally. Like, the fact that he collects lightsabers, that he has his animation's awesome. Like, there's like a lot of stuff in the prequels that looks kind of funny when you watch it now, but this guy just looks great.
Yeah. Well, on the subject of villains, Count Dooku's cape.
Yep.
I really like his cape. Also, Christopher Lee is awesome. He's just like, I feel like they were going down the list of like great actors they needed to have in the prequels, and they just got him in there, and he's like that whole scene is a little bit too much CG there. I like that he's got that funny speeder bike and that weird like lamp robot that drives his solar sailor spaceship, but. We get in arguments all the time about his curved lightsaber, Brian. I think it's cool.
Well, he's also like, he's hanging out with like, he's like a rich guy who's super powerful, but he hangs out with like insect men and this like toilet planet. There's something pretty
The
pretty
Jedi
awesome about
clearly
that.
didn't go his way.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we get to like 2040 though, and they're running out of ideas for Star Wars movies, and they're like the cape manufacturers of the galaxy far, far away. Because Darth Vader too, like why?
Yeah, who is making these capes?
I want to know. I actually am adding that to the list of, well, to the spin-offs we do want to see.
The cape maker.
The Geonosian Arena monsters are basically CG Rancors turned up to 11. They have 3 of them. This is the Acklay. I like it because it is a praying mantis dinosaur. There's also the Reek, which is basically a Triceratops rhino. And then there's a Nexu, which is like a nasty cat spider man.
I like that you know that too. That is Star Wars knowledge that is in your brain. You are not reading off a prompter for that. I'm very impressed.
No, I have things stuck in my head that are, oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Make him
baby.
talk.
Hey.
You gotta make him talk.
Hey
You gotta say
everyone,
something.
it's me, the Rancor.
I heard my name. I'm glad the Rancor couldn't talk. Okay, so a lot of people get mad at the prequels for being like too kid friendly and too like silly and like playful. Sometimes that's true. Jar Jar Binks is a big bone of contention, but there's a lot of funny stuff that happens, such as the part where the Eopie farts directly into his mouth.
Yeah,
Also, Eopies are really
I
funny.
like the silver lining right under, like the placement could not be better,
Just
guys.
this
yeah, it's
awful,
right on
like,
his taint. It's really gross. He's like an elephant horse. I have a lot of problems with this thing.
I don't think we're allowed to describe this on this mostly safe for work show that we do here, but I like the Eopie when he actually, fun fact, I had Eopie farts at hotmail.com as an email address when I was in like 7th grade, and my mom made me change it because she's like, I'm not telling that to your aunt. I'm not.
This is one of those things you talk about a lot. It's also the first time I saw the Star Wars prequels. I saw Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace, and I'm like, I'm really sick of this guy. And he gets farted in his mouth. I'm like, come on, this movie's so stupid. But watching it repeatedly, you really look forward to the part where he gets farted in his mouth because I don't like Jar Jar Binks, and I want an elephant horse to fart in his mouth.
It's awesome.
That's what he needs.
I like the part where Darth Vader goes and kills a bunch of Tusken Raiders.
Yeah,
I like
He's not even Darth Vader yet.
Well, he's getting there.
He's just like shows up and he's just like,
just having
hey,
a
I'm gonna
bad
kill
day.
you and your horses or whatever those things are.
I killed them. Their families. Oh God, it's awful. But I do like the Tusken Raiders. They're really funny. They're just like, they're gun mummies that live in the desert. They got these weird adobe poop huts that are probably made out of bantha poodoo or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, and they're just like hanging out, and this dude shows up with a laser sword and just kills them all. It's terrible. So anyway, I like Tusken Raiders.
They also walk single file because they're lonely.
All right, so Jedi Knights, really cool. I feel like we don't get enough of them properly. I mean, there's 2 TV shows, or there's a TV show devoted to them. Plo Koon, really, he looks like a predator. Like, he's terrifying.
He doesn't make any sense.
He's a good guy, but you're like, how would I ever get that?
Because Max and I have very specific brain damage. We were having a conversation with each other the other day about how after the Jedi Council meetings, Yoda and Yaddle and the other dudes are probably like, you guys want to get to a bite to eat? And Plo Koon's like, I cannot.
What I want to know, and I'm sure that it's been resolved in some sort of novelization, in which case yell at me